This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3, and welcome to the first ever Masters tournament. And Game 1 of the quarterfinals is going to be kicking off on Absolute Zero, a map that many of you may be unfamiliar with, but you're going to get familiar with it over the course of this game and over this quarterfinals. In the north, playing as the Green Soviets, this is GreenAlert. He may be playing Red Alert, but he is going Crusher Crane first. GreenAlert. He may be playing Red Alert, but he's GreenAlert, and his opponent should be on Red Alert because a Crusher Crane opener is headed his way. Now in the south, one of the most well-known and well-loved players of all time in Red Alert 3. This is Dimon. Yeah, he's not playing Soviets. He's playing Empire, but he may be busting out his Soviets if he can make it past this match versus GreenAlert. And here in Red Alert 3 Masters, anything can happen. So even though I would give the favor of this match... Oh, that MCV is on the move. I would give the favor of this match to Dimon. GreenAlert can make something happen. He's going Super Reactor. He's going MCV move. I don't think this is just for the expansions. GreenAlert is going to be kicking things off with a heavy dose of spice here on game number 1 versus Dimon, and I am loving it. The Tesla coil push from GreenAlert. He immediately packs that MCB back up, and he is heading for a more prime location. Of course, that's the advantage of having that Crusher Crane in the opening. Now, Dimon is in a bit of an awkward position. I'm sure he's played against Tesla coil pushes before, but would you expect it in game 1 of a quarterfinals of a tournament like this? And I don't know, expect it or not, it is what is happening. A couple of bears going to be getting gunned down there, and it looks like Dimon will take back that oil derrick, which means he's got both oil derricks, which will be quite nice because his base is being set upon by a Tesla coil, and he actually sells off both the refinery and the power plant. Second refinery is still working. Dimon never did get a third refinery up and running. There is the high ground location, and then there is this expansion way out there on the water as well. We'll see what Dimon is able to do. MCV is here. GreenAlert seems to be slowing down just a little bit. Bear gets a roar off and locks down a couple of Imperial Warriors, but not much more than that. Second Tesla coil is being deployed, and actually with just... He got a Mecha Bay, but there is no Mecha Bay left here on the map. So Dimon has a couple of Tengus, but no Tier 2 and no way to break down this Tesla coil. Dimon going to be selling off that refinery. It was under threat anyways. GreenAlert is going to be maybe even just setting up a base, and we'll see how good GreenAlert can do to stop this infantry army and the Tengus. If this Tesla coil was done, this attack would be so much weaker. Body block comes in, barracks blocks, reactor blocks, but that's going to be it. And these tank busters, there's 4 of them here, plus the Tengus, and they break down that Tesla coil. Sir, tear down that wall and take the Tesla coil with it, but there's an engineer. Did Dimon sell off his... Okay, no, he didn't sell off his MCV. He just got out another engineer, and he is backing it along. He's going to be going for the super reactor. The harvester comes off the line, going for those heroic tank busters, but not quite finding the crush on enough of them. The reactor gets sold off as well. GreenAlert now 200 out of 50. He is way overpowered on his base, or way underpowered on his base is what I should be saying, and this second Tesla coil is useless. GreenAlert had such an amazing setup. 2 Tesla coils versus a handful of infantry and a couple of Tengus. And Dimon found the way. He found a way to defeat 2 Tesla coils with just a couple of Imperial Warriors. GreenAlert, he's got about 1,500 credits in the bank. He needs to get out that reactor, and he is going to be calling in the cash back on this expansion, on this refinery up in the north. GreenAlert, with only a couple of $100 left, doesn't quite have enough to get out a refinery. He could sell off this Tesla coil, and it looks like he may have just enough. He gets the cash back, And, yeah, I think that'll be enough. The cash back, oh, he gets the cash back on that harvester as well. So that 850 will definitely add up enough. And yep, there's the sell-off. There's the finish of that refinery. He didn't actually have to sell off his Tesla coil. So GreenAlert has just enough cash to make it out with the Tesla coil. Refinery comes online. Dimon heads to the land. Once again, Dimon is going to be setting up his economy. He's going to be rebuilding his economy, and GreenAlert is going for the naval yard. A double oil derrick has never seemed quite so powerful in a game as when you don't have any harvesters. And the Flak Trooper, oh, the Flak Trooper doesn't actually get the shot off. You need the shot plus the magnetic mine to be able to take out that Mecha Tengu. And, oh, GreenAlert sells off the reactor to get the conscript, and he sells off the wall as well, but these walls are still blocking him. And that Tengu, with barely any HP left, does manage to escape. Second refinery going to be coming out. Oh, the engineer jumps inside of that observation post for Dimon. And Dimon now has this very annoying harvester to deal with, which, considering how few units are out here on the map, how few units each side actually has, it does mean that this harvester's DPS is a significant portion of this map. And actually, there's the sell-off of the MCV. There is a naval yard here, so technically GreenAlert could rebuild that. He's got 600 bucks to his name, and a couple of Stingrays are his only real hope. Tank busters go down. Imperial Warriors make it inside of that building, and now it's 3 Stingrays. That's actually a pretty good number for GreenAlert. He doesn't have an MCV, so he can't really build much more than this. And, well, I guess if... okay, Dimon goes for the Imperial Docks. He could go Tier 2, and he could go Tsunami Tanks, which would shred those Stingrays. But if he just goes Yaris, there might be an opportunity for GreenAlert to get something done. Bullfrog comes out. He wants to try and chase down those Tengus, make sure that they can't just run away in the air. Dimon is the one with actual cash in the bank, though. 2 oil derricks plus 2 refineries in a normal game. That's not an amazing economy, but in this game, that's actually phenomenal. And is he burst droning him to death? That burst drone latches onto a Stingray, and oh my gosh, Dimon with a couple of burst drones earlier in this game. He's at least slowing down these Stingrays, even if he doesn't totally destroy them, which that burst drone might be able to. And oh, burst drone gets the kill on the Stingray. Bye-bye to that Stingray. Oil derricks now getting targeted. Dimon won't have that sweet cash cow for quite as long, but the Sky Wings are here. The Tier 2 is here, and oh, this is not looking good for GreenAlert. What a fantastic opening here in game number 1 for GreenAlert, but he's got $0 in the bank. He's got Tsunami Tanks to worry about, and he just lost 2 Stingrays, it looks like, or at least 1 Stingray, and it looks like Dimon may have lost a Harvester, which is a nice kill for a Stingray. Killing off a Harvester is nice. And this other harvester will eventually go down to the Stingray of GreenAlert. But now that Dimon has that 2 refinery, plus the oil derrick, plus the Tier 2 on the naval yard, things are looking very bad for GreenAlert. The GG gets called. A fantastic opening match from GreenAlert in terms of viewer enjoyment, viewer entertainment, but not a good match for GreenAlert to win this series. But, of course, this is a best of 5. He's not against the wall. Dimon is not at match point yet. There's still more games to turn this series around. And hopefully that turnaround starts here on Epicenter Island, a map that we have only seen, I think, once before on this channel. And the lights have been turned down real low for this nighttime map. Kind of reminded me of a Red Alert 2 aesthetic a little bit here. I'm not actually sure if this is based on a Red Alert 2 map or not, but just having the lights turned down like that, where you take the I don't know, the gamma or the brightness and just crank it down on the map, kind of does make it look like a Red Alert 2 map. Anyways, on the right side, playing Soviet, says the green. This is GreenAlert. He is not going for a crane this time. He's going for a bit more of a normal opening here on Epicenter Island. And once again, playing Empire, this is Dimon. All right, Dimon, I mentioned he was probably the favored player. Well, he's definitely the favored player, and he is the player that I would pick in this best of 5. But that first game from GreenAlert was so entertaining, was so fun to see, that I am secretly hoping that GreenAlert is able to make something happen here, something truly amazing. GreenAlert goes for double refinery, goes for a very fast war factory as well. So he is not messing around. He is going to go for super reactor after that, but he's not going for some kind of super eco boom. It is a pretty close third base for both players, but then your fourth and your fifth bases, they're a little bit further out. They're a little bit more in awkward open positions. They're kind of a little bit tougher to hold on to. But on Epicenter Island, you've got this big center focus of buildings, which, by the way, I do believe this map was designed by Das Dulan, who is a player from many, many years ago, who played lots of great matches and was a phenomenal player in his time. But we haven't seen him around for a good long time, and I believe Epicenter Island was a map created by him. GreenAlert gets the infect on this ore collector. Great move. Always love to see it. And Dimon is actually just going to be losing that harvester. So the Terror Drone will get hunted down by this Tengu. And then the replacement harvester is, I don't know, 5 seconds away or something. So we'll see if the sickle is able to jump in there. And look at that perfect timing! That's actually hilarious, the way that GreenAlert got that down to the literal perfect second. Sickle jumps in, takes that harvester offline, takes the harvester down to half health, but won't be able to do much more than that. Fast 3 refinery for Dimon, but it's not actually fast 3 working refineries, with the total refinery cost climbing up near to 4,000 credits. I mean, 2,500 for the refinery, and then 1,400 for that harvester. So right out of the gate, Dimon is pretty heavily invested into this third refinery location. He's spent a lot of cash trying to secure that. Middle of the map can be extremely powerful. Empire players might have a little bit of a disadvantage because you can't just throw a couple of jabs or a couple of flaks into those buildings and have some powerful anti-air all across the middle of the map. If Apollos or MiGs or Tengus try to cross the middle of the map and you've got some anti-air in there, you can get some free shots, and there are so many buildings that you can pretty easily hop from building to building. Fourth refinery coming up. Okay, Dimon says it is time to go big eco and to boom the economy. We'll see if he's actually able to hold on to that. At the same time, GreenAlert did spot that, so he does know that that fourth refinery is on the way. He's got his own airfield. He did go for the super reactor in the main base, and then the expansion after that. But the airfield was a pretty quick follow-up. So Twin Blades and MiGs are now on the menu for GreenAlert, and GreenAlert is just kind of mirroring everything that Dimon does. GreenAlert seems to do. I love the patrolling Tengu from Dimon. This is almost certainly an anti-terror drone measure. The hammer tank saw that refinery moving out of the main base, and Dimon was preempting what would have been a pretty good move, is to send a terror drone over there and get the infect on that refinery. Didn't end up happening, and with this naval yard, it does mean that any terror drone attacks are going to be of limited value. You can only delay the economy. You'll never be able to kill off the harvester with that terror drone. Harvester does not stop in the middle, but the hammer tank doesn't actually deploy. And the Tengu does come in, but the MiG is here to guard. GreenAlert, I have to hand it to him. This is a very well-executed attack. He's got the Bullfrog on the low ground, out on the water. He's got the MiG in the air, and he's got the Twin Blade with the hammer tank. So he does have a significant amount of firepower here. It's a little bit vulnerable while it's in the air, but now that it's on the ground, it's much safer. 2 Bullfrogs are here. The MiGs aren't going to be able to get many shots off, but the Bullfrogs and the MiGs together can clean up 2 of the 3 Tengus, and number 3 goes down anyways, and the 4th Tengu shows up a little bit late to the party, but will clean up the MiG. Dimon getting the better of that engagement, perhaps, and now this tank buster army is able to set upon that hammer tank and blast it to smithereens. Yari cleans up that terror drone, it seems, and meanwhile, the middle of the map has not seen much play. A couple of buildings captured by each side, but not much significance as GreenAlert has been keeping the aggression on the Dimon side of the map, so that middle of the map hasn't really factored into much of anything. And I guess for GreenAlert, he can always keep in mind, hey, I've kind of got a free middle of the map. Dimon is never going to have anti-air just parked in those buildings. Yari mini-subs are here. Reactors are also nearby. Okay, he's trying to body block a big chunk of that Tesla coil with a naval yard. And it will be a bit of a two-pronged attack here, as maybe Final Squadron or something comes in, a couple of Tengus trying to harass that base, and this Tesla coil may not be long for this world as more and more Yari mini-subs crash into it. Flak Cannon is also here, so GreenAlert has spent a significant amount of cash trying to hold on to this location, but ultimately it looks like he may be unsuccessful in that attempt. A couple more suicides from these Yaris, and this refinery will be gone. Of course, if you spend 3 Yaris killing off this refinery, then suddenly the Yaris don't look like such a good deal. In this case, it may have been 3 or 4 Yaris, but he got a Tesla coil for his troubles and forced away that flak cannon also. Overall, it feels like Dimon is once again in a pretty strong position. 4 refineries under his belt, plus an oil derrick. Tier 2 on the Mecha Bay, Tier 2 on the Naval Yard as well. Maybe even heading towards a Tier 3 very soon, just to give him that endgame army. Double airfield was the choice for GreenAlert. Not something I can say that I've seen in a tournament match of Red Alert 3. I have not seen many players go for a very quick double airfield the way that GreenAlert did. Twin Blades show up, and the MiGs miss their opportunity to blast that Chopper VX out of the sky. They do get it eventually, but just they weren't quite on the ball. Chopper VX and that Defender are going to be able to take a couple of shots. MiG takes a lot of damage. MiG goes down, and that was a pretty costly attack for maybe 1 Harvester worth of damage. Tengu's coming in here. Hammer tanks are here to defend. Triple hammer tanks on the front line, but this war factory is getting low on health. It just won't fall, though, as the last Tengu explodes, and that war factory still stands. Dimon almost getting the war factory, but maybe making a little bit of a mistake there, committing all of those Tengus into that attack. I love this from GreenAlert. Finds the opening, finds the weakness. Well, not able to kill off the Harvester fast enough that he could actually turn around and attack the Naval Yard. But maybe GreenAlert can keep this attack going. It seems like too many MiGs for this number of Twin Blades. And I appreciate wanting to have a good mix of Twin Blades and MiGs. But this is maybe too many MiGs. And it's always nice to have the air guard there against a Tengu player. But, again, maybe just too many MiGs. Harvesters getting siphoned off one by one. Even the oil derrick might be an exposed target here for GreenAlert to kill. And this one war factory has now absorbed so many Empire units. It's probably been the target of like $5,000 or $6,000 worth of Empire units that have failed to kill it. So that war factory is paying for itself more than just in terms of pure production abilities. It is just a target that seemingly won't die. Dimon has tried twice, once with like 5 or 6 Tengus and then with 3 or 4 strikers. And that's a couple grand down the drain that Dimon is not going to get back. Satellites getting called down. Barracks goes down. Power plants take a bit of damage. Dimon can afford to lose 1 whole power plant and still have his power. So if GreenAlert wants to take his power offline, he'll need to knock down 2 power plants before those base defenses go down or the production slows. Hammer tanks are ready. Dimon sold off his MCV a little while ago, so no walls are going to be deployed here on the front line. Bears come forward. Tsunami tanks are also here, and the strikers are looking for their opportunity to transform, but they're a little hesitant at the current moment. Bears all roar at the same time, which means these tank busters largely don't have a lockdown that they are facing. Twin Blades come in, MiGs as well. Hammer tanks are getting overwhelmed on the ground, but maybe the Twin Blades can save this attack. Maybe they can save this army and cause some real damage to Dimon. Dimon loses some of the front line, but he destroys the ground army of GreenAlert, and it's just the air forces of GreenAlert that survive. Two bullfrogs and a couple of bears manage to escape the front line attack. Everything else from GreenAlert goes down. If it was on the ground, Dimon killed it. Twin Blades escape. They cleaned up one more harvester, and they're going to come back for another sweep at this refinery. Dimon has had 4 refineries, but for the last couple of minutes, he has not had 4 working refineries, and that's a little bit problematic for Dimon. He could have had several thousand more credits in the bank, and I have to wonder that maybe he just misclicked. I'm not sure why he did not rebuild the harvester at that location, but for whatever reason, he did not. And the result is Dimon has had 4 refineries, but has only harvested 51,000 credits. Meanwhile, GreenAlert, with his 3 refineries for most of this game, having lost the 4th a long, long time ago, has harvested more resources total than Dimon. And that's sort of the explanation for why Dimon's army can defeat GreenAlert's ground army, but Dimon cannot really do anything more out on the map. He can play defense, he can hold off an attack, but he can't really step out and do anything else. He needs everything back at home constantly for defense. MCV here on the front line. There is a crusher crane behind this, so there's always the potential of some kind of double drop of Tesla coils or some kind of double drop of barracks just to body block and disrupt the front line. And whoa! That's a GG. That's a Dimon tap out as GreenAlert takes a game here on Epicenter Island away from Dimon. A fantastic match there for GreenAlert. Sort of a banner game for him, and let's see if he can keep the momentum going into game number 3 with a 1-1 score. Anything is possible. Which takes us to Liberation Freeze, aka something Gardens. For whatever reason on the Chinese server it's called something else. It's the exact same map, or maybe it's slightly different. Yeah, the oil derricks get moved to the high ground, but it's the same map. Anyways, you know him. This guy just got a win there on Epicenter Island. This is GreenAlert. And meanwhile, on the south side, maybe he's shaking in his boots. Maybe he's not sure if he's going to make it to the semifinals. This is Dimon. It would be amazing if GreenAlert forced Dimon into a Soviet mirror. If Dimon started just losing matches as Empire, and then Dimon ended up playing a Soviet mirror. If you guys don't know, Dimon is a Soviet player by default. Normally he plays Soviets, but he dislikes Soviet mirrors so much that he went and learned himself a brand new faction. He learned to play Empire. And because over the course of 2020, 2021, 2022, DDF, who is also a Soviet player a lot of the time, would fight Dimon in tournaments so much, there were lots of people who ended up seeing almost as many Dimon Empire games as they saw Dimon Soviet games. And so, in some people's eyes, Dimon is sort of a halftime. He's sort of 50-50. On whether he's Empire or Soviets. But he is a Soviet main. He just oftentimes in tournaments seems to get matched up against other Soviet players, and, well, he ends up playing Empire quite a lot. That's the story of Dimon playing Empire. Anyways, I guess in the next one, he's up against 2 allied players, you know, whether it's going to be YuiYui or whether it's going to be Pika. Either way, I guess one of them could play an off faction, but that would be quite a surprise if they switched up just to make Dimon play Soviets, or just to make Dimon play Empire. But he is going to be up against an allied player, so we should get to see Dimon return to form if he can make it out of this semifinals, which is not a guarantee. I would say it's likely, but it is not a guarantee, especially with GreenAlert apparently bringing the big guns, bringing a Tesla coil push, and then winning out that game on Epicenter Island, where Dimon's harvesters just were not as active as they should have been. And, okay, there's one flak trooper over here, but I think he's already in magnetic mine mode. So he's not getting the extra shots against those Tengus. MCV up to the high ground, and Dimon is keeping an eye on everything. With a 1-1 map score, you don't want to leave anything to chance. Especially when you're Dimon, you're sort of the expected favorite. You're the person everyone is expecting to advance on into the semifinals. And then if you suddenly get dethroned by GreenAlert, maybe people start to question whether you really are as good as you used to be. War Factory getting sniped this early on would be pretty devastating for GreenAlert, and Dimon has very aggressive positioning, and GreenAlert is not ready for this attack. An additional sickle comes on out, but that is just not enough firepower. GreenAlert is going to have to run for the hills, and he was trying to go for a high ground expansion, but his MCV is now brought back onto the low ground, and in defense mode, one game is all you're going to get, says Dimon, as he sets upon these sickles and starts tearing them apart. He's going to lose his tank busters, but his Tengus do manage to escape, and it looks like the Crane and the War Factory, the second War Factory that is, will both survive this attack. 3 refineries, 2 oil derricks, and a tier 2 on the Mecha Bay. Dimon is very well set up for the mid-game. He doesn't have a lot of cash in the bank, but that extra $2,000 that he has harvested over his opponent is being put to good use. I love this from GreenAlert, deploying a couple of flak troopers, deploying a couple of units to kill off these oil derricks. It's ultimately not quite going to work, as Dimon will save at least one of these oil derricks. Oh my goodness, he might actually save both of these oil derricks. It's going to be barely, but he might save both. Come on. Okay, he gets it. GreenAlert gets it. But if it's at the cost of both of these sickles, it probably wasn't worth it. Dimon pushes on forward. There's the harassing Tengu, and okay, you've got a tsunami tank, and you've got lots of stuff heading towards your base. He's going to crush down those sickles, and he says the hammer tank is the much more important thing in this case, but what is 1 hammer tank versus 2 tsunamis and 3 or 4 Tengus? Crusher Crane goes down, so no repairs, and that hammer tank shows its rear armor to now 3 tsunami tanks, and that is just not enough firepower from the Soviet player. Dimon won't even let a single tsunami die as he pulls away and activates the nano deflectors, and that is all she wrote. If GreenAlert is able to pull a win from this position, he truly might be one of the greatest of all time. Terror Drone gets the infect, a nice touch there for GreenAlert, so it looks like he may be able to kill off 1 tsunami tank after all, but 1 tsunami tank is probably the only thing that he is going to get. Another hammer tank steps on out, but this is now 5 tsunami tanks. Even with the 1 going down there, it's still 5 tsunami tanks on the front line. The War Factory goes down. GreenAlert's hopes of winning this game will fall pretty much down to 0, and his hopes of winning this series will be lowered by a little bit. Liberation Freeze is not quite as friendly of a map to GreenAlert as Epicenter Island. And an engineer tried to cross the map. A cute move there by GreenAlert, but it just won't happen. The GG gets called, and that will be it for GreenAlert. That will be all she wrote in this game. And that will send us into game number 4, where GreenAlert, his back is up against the wall, and he needs to figure something else out. And game 4 sends us to Kodiak Lake, which, you know, it's not a map we see in competitive matches very often, but I'm excited to see if maybe its weirdness can turn into something cool. In the top right, he needs your support. He needs your cheers. This is GreenAlert. And meanwhile, in the bottom left-hand corner, as the Yellow Empire. This is Dimon. GreenAlert and Dimon. Well, this series has shaped up in a way that I did not expect. The scoreboard is starting to look a little bit more Dimon favored and a little bit more the way that we would expect. Oh, that bear escaping right out onto the water. Can he get the kill on the engineer? That would be amazing. He doesn't get the roar, and he doesn't get the kill on the engineer. That bear gets trapped, unfortunately, and will not be successful in his mission. It would be amazing if there was a second bear that was able to come in at just the right angle to get the roar off. But no, it is not meant to be. It is going to be a base crawl to the third refinery for GreenAlert. One of the advantages of the Soviet build style on this map is that you do get that third refinery very, very quickly. And I mean, it's not as quick as if it had been 3 refineries out of the Empire player right away, but GreenAlert does at least still have $3 grand in the bank, so it's not quite as costly to do it the Soviet way as it would be for the Empire. But let's see if the slowed down War Factory will end up being a problem. Maybe, maybe not, as Dimon will set up his own third base, but he's got, of course, that naval yard quite a bit faster than GreenAlert did. Burst Drone gets the scout. Dimon knows exactly what GreenAlert is up to, and this is where things get a little bit dicey for GreenAlert. Oh, Terror Drone gets the infect. Very nice there. And actually, he's going to be able to lock down that Yari mini-sub as well, and oh, this is almost perfect for GreenAlert, but it's just not going to work out. He is going to be forcing the double kamikaze of these Yari mini-subs. I guess you just sell off this reactor, yeah, because that's too close. That gets way too much value for those Yari mini-subs. But hey, 2 Yari mini-subs, those guys aren't free, and Dimon did not get as much value as he would have liked. He did get the terror drones, so there is that factor for Dimon. And GreenAlert survives the first wave of attacks. Dimon is going to be looking to keep up the pressure on the naval expansion. He's got some more Yari mini-subs coming on out. Like I said, this is a little bit of a weird map. This is definitely a twist on the traditional Red Alert 3 map-making formula. And okay, that refinery turns. I was like, that's a weird trajectory for that refinery. And the Terror Drone will spot it, but the Terror Drone won't be able to do anything about it. Not with 2 Yari mini-subs there. Not enough Terror Drone firepower to withstand those Yari mini-subs. Flak cannon and a Tesla coil. That's just kind of a dangerous spot regardless. Double airfield as the follow-up. Crusher crane and a double airfield for GreenAlert. I mean, hey, it worked on Epicenter Island. He got 2 airfields, and in the end, the Twin Blades and the MiGs were able to bring him a degree of success. Maybe a couple more Twin Blades on this one, a few fewer MiGs, maybe 2 fewer MiGs, at least in the initial run for GreenAlert. He's got 1,400 credits in the bank, but Dimon has 2 grand, and I assume that is because he is expanding his mecha bay, he's upgrading his tech, and he will soon be producing Chopper VXs and Tsunami tanks. This ore mine's starting to pay for itself in quite a real way, as that ore mine has harvested quite a bit for GreenAlert. He definitely needs to get a 4th refinery at some point. I would not, as the Soviet player, assume that I am always going to have control of this location unless you build a naval yard and you actually put some real effort into keeping control of the waters. But there are 4 refineries in the water in the middle of the map. So going Akula subs, going for that quick tier 2 naval yard wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea if you're a Soviet player. But from this point, GreenAlert would have been playing a little bit of catch-up to get him on even footing. A couple of Twin Blades are here. 4 MiGs means that a couple of Tengus aren't just going to be able to tear apart this Soviet Air Force. 6 MiGs right out of the gate. Once again, it feels like too many MiGs. I feel like those 4 MiGs you can hang out with for a little while. I mean, if your primary goal is to hunt down Tengus, then I guess. but the MiGs really do just seem to be there to support the Twin Blades. And so as much as the Twin Blades can get value, I feel like 2 more Twin Blades would be a better way to get more value. But we'll see. GreenAlert won on Epicenter Island with this kind of play. Oh, it would have been amazing if he had a couple of flaks or a couple of engineers in here just to really disrupt Dimon's play. A couple of engineers capturing power plants or a couple of flak troopers to kill those power plants while the Twin Blades go away. All right, there's the point defense drones on those Tengus. And the MiGs, they actually don't turn. Okay, they do turn finally, but kind of engage a little bit too late. And now the MiGs are going to be leading the Tengus away from the Twin Blades, which is good. And the Twin Blades stop running, so the Tengus will find them, and that's not good for GreenAlert. Bye-bye. Kind of turned out to be nothing. He got all those MiGs, and he didn't get very many Twin Blades, and then the MiGs didn't actually defend the Twin Blades very well, and the MiGs ended up leading the Twin Blades to death anyways, so I guess the Tengus win in the end. A couple of Bullfrogs packed along is nice, but of course in that moment, GreenAlert wasn't able to keep the MiGs and the Twin Blades and the Bullfrogs all together. The MiG Frog, the MiG Twin Frog? MiG Twin Frog? I don't know how to combine that. Mwig Frog. You get the W in there from the Twin Blade. Anyways, that combination just didn't quite gel for GreenAlert. It didn't line up in the way that he wanted. Third airfield is coming up for GreenAlert. He thinks his one chance, or I guess he thinks the one thing that has worked for him is air units, so the obvious way to expand that is more air units. And of course, my big concern is 3 refineries versus 4. Dimon has been harassed pretty consistently, which is nice. Oh, and he gets the Stingray. He gets the Sea-Wing. The Stingray, that's not out on the field. But he gets the Sea-Wing, and he's actually going to be forcing that away. That's perfect here from GreenAlert. Bullfrog will get a couple of shots here. One MiG does go down. Twin Blade explodes as well. Tengus are so numerous that the Bullfrog keeps changing targets, and the Twin Blades just take a little bit of damage across a bunch of Tengus, and ultimately nothing really happens there. Reactor cells off, barracks as well. GreenAlert 50 power out of balance here. 50 units of electricity out of balance. And I don't know about this triple airfield. Triple airfield, triple refinery, no oil derrick, and no war factory, no naval yard production, no barracks production. Like, it doesn't seem like a good long-term plan. I meant no war factory production. I didn't mean sell your war factory. But now GreenAlert feels like he must have messaged Dimon at some point. Like, they messaged each other, and GreenAlert was like, you're only allowed to build Tengus, and I will only build air units. And for whatever reason, they both agreed to this, and that one Mecha Tengu is actually a Mecha Tengu. It's not a Southern Transport disguised as a Tengu. But for whatever reason, they have both decided to stick with these unit comps, and, I mean, the Tengus are the more versatile unit at the end of the day. Another Twin Blade gets hunted down. MiGs are here, and this is a lot of MiGs, so they will be able to trade out against these Tengus, but this is just way more Tengus. It is just so many more Tengus, and the GG comes out. GreenAlert has been defeated, and Dimon will complete the 3-1 kill of GreenAlert here in the quarterfinals of the Masters. And once again, we're going to see absolute zero here. And it is going to be game number 1 of another quarterfinals in the North. Playing red, this is Pika. Meanwhile, in the South, playing allies, playing cyan, this is YuiYui. A player that many of you may not be familiar with, but who I remember from years and years and years ago. This guy has won a number of tournaments. He has sown so much chaos and deception, so much chaos and destruction. This guy will turret push anyone, anytime, anywhere, but not just turret push the way you may think of it. He'll take a game which looks normal and then turn it into like a 20-minute chase, as no player can hold on to 2 refineries for longer than a couple of minutes, and there's just random buildings spread all throughout the map. And oh my gosh, I think he's going to be doing it again. This may be exactly what he wants to do, but is he ready to do it versus Pika, who has had some very impressive games in the last couple of years? Pika has fought against the best that there is, and sometimes he comes out ahead. He's gone toe-to-toe with pretty much every good player that you can think of in the last couple of years, and he doesn't always win, but it's always pretty much a competitive match, and he has put on a lot of good matches in the last couple of years. But I also don't know how much Pika has been playing recently and leading up to this event. So Pika himself may be a little bit rusty. This may be the battle of the Rust Kings to see who could come out ahead. In this case, YuiYui, I have to imagine, is the rustier of the two, and we'll see if he's able to break off that rust and really show us the moves that he used to be so well known for. Low power mode there for Yui for just a minute, but he's now back online. Pika going to be getting down a quarter of the MCV's health before the first battle has even really begun. It's just the fight of the base defenses. And actually, this is going to be double. Okay. YuiYui's going to have to run for it. This is, yeah, that's not really sustainable. The MCB is going to take quite a bit of damage on exit, but it should escape. Okay, getting dangerously low there, but he will be able to escape. Hydrofoil shows up immediately, weapons jams. That multi-gunner turret and the Riptide will be able to break it down. The MCB unpacks, and the Engineer is so close. So YuiYui should be fine. He will be able to recover, and this is a bit of a delay on whatever he had planned, but it is not the end of the road for YuiYui. He held on to his 3rd refinery. He's held on to his oil derrick as well. And yeah, taking a bunch of damage on your MCV and having to back up, having to produce the Engineer is not fun, but he is not completely destitute yet. Hydrofoil shows up, shuts down this expansion on the left side. YuiYui had 3 refineries, but he may only have 1 or 2 before very much longer. He may be losing his expansion, and I do love the weapons jammer on that harvester. Not actually doing anything, but it is funny to see. Multi-gunner turret and a Riptide going to be tearing apart that refinery. YuiYui is going to have to come up with a better trick if he wants to win this game, if he wants to lock down this player. Vindicator comes in, Hydrofoil switches back to the weapons jammer and will be able to shut down this multi-gunner turret. Pika is gaining control of the water, but it doesn't mean the game is over just yet. YuiYui is in a bad situation, and it's not getting better, but he's not dead just yet. And weird situations where it's not over were once upon a time YuiYui's specialty. He could turn anything around, and sometimes it would take him 20 minutes of running around the map with his MCV, dropping multi-gunner turrets here or there, holding just a single refinery at a time. His bank account almost always at 0, but he would make it happen, and it would frustrate his enemies to no end. Pika, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be giving a lot of opportunities for chaos to be a problem. He is using his just good sense of gameplay and control to just lock down this game piece by piece. Peacekeepers do get shut down, and then he turns his attention back to these multi-gunner turrets, which are plaguing his 3rd base. Slowly but surely, Pika is just building up an almost perfect attack and defense that is just unbreakable here for YuiYui. Multi-gunner turret does get the kill on that assault destroyer, so he gets at least a little bit of value. But this has been multiple multi-gunner turrets to try and secure that location, and all the while, YuiYui is fighting from a down position in terms of economy, although he's trying to even that out a little bit by eliminating the oil derrick in the middle of the map. Pika wouldn't like losing the oil derrick, but it's not the end of the world. Peacekeepers may be getting targeted down. Multi-gunner turret gets called in. Apollo does go down, and the cryo shot will fire off on that multi-gunner. Before it can kill off that Apollo, it does get frozen down, and the Vindicators are not able to clean up the Peacekeepers fast enough, and the Apollo will escape. Second Assault Destroyer is out and ready to tumble, so it is going to be a continued fight on the water between these two players. It seems like it just might never end. And attempts to split up the Vindicator bombs there, maybe not working as well as Pika would like, but this time the MCV is going to have a much harder time escaping. Cryo shot will fire off. Pika will dodge it. Final multi-gunner turret gets deployed, but it's just not enough. The Vindicators are too slow, and that time the bomb trick did work. Most of those Vindicator bombs impacted nothing, as YuiYui will lose game number 1. Pika shows that he is not going to be bowled over by some expert of a bygone era, some guy who used to be good at Red Alert 3. He's going to have to try a little bit harder if he's going to knock down Pika and advance to the semifinals. And oh boy, here we are, back on Infinity Isle. We've seen Absolute Zero, and now we need to see just the most vanilla map that we can. But, all right, the Cyan player, he's going to be starting out with a barracks, actually. We'll see what follows up that power plant. We'll see. On the left, this is YuiYui. He's looking for that win. He's looking to even the score and make this best of 5 a little more competitive. Meanwhile, on the right side, looking to show that he is not going to be disrupted, this is Pika. Would love to see Pika advance on to the semifinals, get himself a little bit of a payday, and get himself a shot at the finals. But it would be really funny to see YuiYui advance into the semifinals as well. And that would just be a goofy thing that we would get to see. Oh, man, YuiYui back in a semifinals, and I don't even know if he's shown up for a tournament in the last couple of years. This might be his first tournament since he dipped away. Maybe he's played a couple of them randomly here or there, but it would be funny to see him basically just show up for a tournament out of nowhere almost, and then, whoop, right into the semifinals, right into the finals maybe. But it's not going to be an easy fight regardless. Both of these players, they may not be perfectly evenly matched, but they are matched enough that this is a competitive series. Even that game number 1, Pika sort of got control and he just kept getting further and further ahead, but it was never really over. There was always just that glimmer of hope still alive for YuiYui. Unlike some other matches we've seen in the past where it really is a bit of a one-sided fight and there isn't much to say about the other player. Nice dodging there with that Apollo, or with that Vindicator. Dodging those Apollo shots and dodging the Vindicator shots as well. It does mean that YuiYui keeps all of his aircraft alive, and Pika is going to have to find a different way to win this game. Refinery on the high ground is going to be the choice, it looks like, for both players. YuiYui may be a little bit slower on that refinery placement, but not so much. Where's this MCV going? Where are you going, YuiYui? It's not going to be a cryo rush. It might be a turret push, though. And in this case, Pika needs to know about this immediately. And of course, the allied MCV build radius is so big that you do not need to be right on your opponent's doorstep. Yeah, you can be all the way over there, and you can still drop multi-gunner turrets practically on top of their MCV. So in this case, it is going to be a battle of who has the nerves of steel, who is going to be able to just hold on to this weird game, because certainly from this point it's only going to be getting weirder. They both have 3 refineries, they both have an oil derrick as well, airfields back behind this, and it's going to be a fight of walls as well. Pika, more on the defending side. He doesn't really have an opportunity to sneak out and get a 4th refinery to try and out-eco YuiYui, to take an advantage of YuiYui's kind of set position here in the middle of the map. So Pika is going to have to find some other way to break up this attack and get an advantage out of this position. Walls starting to get broken down. Pika and YuiYui. Pika. Pika and YuiYui are both pretty low on cash. YuiYui does have that dog out there at the 4th refinery location on the water, so YuiYui is going to keep an eye on whether or not this refinery is ever taken. And Pika, he needs to find something, because when things are even, that is not a good place to be against YuiYui. But at the same time, this might be a feature of this map. YuiYui might just be extra strong on a map like Infinity Isle, and he may not be quite as strong on those other maps. And hey, this is a best of 5, not a best of 1. You need to have more than one win on your board to be able to win this series. You need to be able to perform on more than just one single map to be able to advance on to the next round. And if YuiYui is a bit of a one-trick pony where he can only win on very specific maps, then it just isn't going to work out in the long term for him. Apollo's double teaming on Pika. He's going to be getting chased away there. At the same time, the walls haven't been totally broken down. YuiYui has this leapfrog multi-gunner turret system set up here, so that as soon as Pika tries to take a little bit of ground, either a Jav or a Peacekeeper can jump inside of those multi-gunner turrets, and YuiYui will have multiple rows of coverage for his defense. Dogs are being produced. Assault Destroyer is ready to go. I love the naval yard on the low ground from Pika, and he is going to be followed up with probably a second Assault Destroyer as well. YuiYui targeting the ground with the laser lock. A nice move there. For those of you who don't know, that is a trick to try and exploit the black hole armor of the Assault Destroyer. If you force fire on the ground, you can get the rockets trapped in the edges of the Assault Destroyer's black hole armor. And Pika's going to try and break it. The dogs don't get anywhere, but the Assault Destroyer does manage to break one of those multi-gunner turrets. These dogs truly are not getting any real damage done. Another Assault Destroyer goes down. The second one is ready to come up the hill. And YuiYui is looking to make this series 1-1. He's looking to even things up and make it not a clean sweep. This is a lot of Peacekeepers. This is even a cryo shot on top of this. This Assault Destroyer doesn't have much life left to give, and Pika will lose his barracks on the front line. His Peacekeeper army is going to be able to maybe break through this front line of attacking forces for YuiYui, but YuiYui has so much defense back behind that. So even if these Peacekeepers are able to break through, they can't do anything to dislodge YuiYui at the current moment. And this is the kind of weird builds, non-traditional play that YuiYui was known for. I'm not going to play 3 refineries and let's throw armies at each other, harass, and move around the map with our units. No. I'm going to slowly base crawl, leapfrog my way into your base, taking it inch by inch, bleeding you out, and forcing you to come up with every defensive strat you can possibly think of. And then it'll all fail anyways. Riptides, Assault Destroyers, but the first refinery has fallen. The Oil Derrick may be next on the list. Apollos from Pika, not managing to get a kill. Pika may be able to break down a couple of walls here. Maybe he can sneak some units over and disrupt YuiYui's backline, but at the same time, things are looking better and better for YuiYui. The longer this game goes on, the more I am favoring YuiYui to even up the score to make this a matched series between these guys. Peacekeeper slowly getting eliminated. Pika hasn't been... I keep mixing up his name, but Pika hasn't been totally dislodged from this high ground. Riptide's trying to draw out the infantry army and draw their damage down to that Assault Destroyer. Unfortunately, there's no repairs for that Assault Destroyer. If there was, you know, an Engineer IFV or even just a war factory nearby where that Assault Destroyer could get repairs while also absorbing the fire, that would be even better. Engineer, almost gets sniped there. The Oil Derrick does body block, and YuiYui will take that Oil Derrick. MCV up onto the high ground. This is the final push. YuiYui has 4 refineries behind this. The Oil Derrick will be a double secure there for YuiYui just to secure his economic advantage even more. Pika is pushing forward. He's got a little bit of a foothold here. Is he going to be able to dislodge YuiYui? Another multi-gunner turret gets deployed. YuiYui on the brink of victory, but he's not quite there yet. Pika needs to be pushed back down this hill, and it looks like Yui will be able to do it. Vindicator's coming in a much shorter bombing run this time, and now both players have so little on the ground, but Yui's defense and reinforcements are just going to be better. No, not if this airfield goes down. Okay, the Vindicators get off the deck. They're going to be able to perform one last massive bombing run against all of these forces, buying even more time. And the Peacekeepers need to blitz forward. They get the airfield. Okay, Pika keeps his hope alive. Suddenly, Pika actually has an opportunity to keep up this assault. It's not going to be immediately pushed back here by YuiYui. Double barracks is here. Pika's MCV absorbing so much damage. If only he had another assault destroyer, but no tier 2 for him. Dogs do go down. The second barracks is basically becoming useless, but now this multi-gunner turret can't be stopped. No, it can. The Javelin gets the target, and it takes so long for the Vindicators to come back around, but eventually they do. And that is going to be the GG. Pika had a moment of hope there, but ultimately Yui will put a point on the board and take us into a game number 3 with a 1-1 map score. And actually, come to think of it, Fire Island was kind of a specialty map for YuiYui as well. In the same way that Infinity Isle, the way it is broken up, works well for his playstyle, so does Fire Island. Those 3 narrow attack paths in between the north and the south, it works well for him. But in the north, playing the red, looking to show that he can stand up against an old giant, this is Pika. Meanwhile, in the south, looking to shake off that rust and advance to the semifinals, this is YuiYui. No cryocopters for this guy, just good old-fashioned turret-pushing chaos. And I mean, it is a turret push, but it is like a grinding turret push. It's at your front door, and it just never relents. Slowly but surely, Yui gets to that 4th refinery, and from there, he's beyond the tipping point, and it's almost impossible to reverse the momentum and get the win. I'm sure it is possible, technically, if you did this or that, and were able to come ahead in this way, but the practicality of dislodging Yui from that 4 refinery, 2 Oil Derrick position on Infinity Isle is essentially impossible. I mean, sure, if the beginning 10 minutes of the game goes differently, then whatever. But, yeah, from that spot, it is just so good. Pika and Yui have a bit of an agreement. We are going to kill these Oil Derricks, and it seems like that is their plan, and they are sticking to it. Peacekeepers do go for the somersaults, which means YuiYui is going to try and take advantage of the downtime. It's not quite going to work out the way he wanted, but he does get at least 2 of the Peacekeeper kills there for 1 of his own. IFVs are here. IFVs will be able to load up with these PKs and quickly blast aside the forces of YuiYui. In the meantime, it looks like Yui went for airfield. He did indeed, and now he is going to be moving his MCV. Where is it? It's in the middle of the map. All right, an MCV, an allied MCV somewhere in the middle reaches far and very close to the main base in the north. In this case, you know, saying the allied base doesn't really make any sense because they are both allied bases in this sense. What is the choice going to be for Pika? For now, it's a decent number of IFVs. He did go armor facility, which could mean Guardian tanks in the next couple of minutes. For now, it means IFVs and Riptides. Is it tier 2? Is it tier 2? Whatever it is paused. It is out of... no, he does actually have a little bit of cash on hand, but it is going to be a cancel, it looks like, for whatever he was building. IFV does get caught over here in the south, it looks like, by a Vindicator. And the Peacekeeper will be able to escape for now. refinery gets deployed out onto the water. It's 3 refineries for Pika, and he knows that this is the danger position here. If he could maybe sneak something out onto this corner, that would be safe for a little while. But eventually, YuiYui would find it, and then he would go for it. Peacekeepers versus IFVs. No Tier 2 yet. It's going to be a double barracks, and they are staggered, but they are back towards the main base. They are not at all on the front lines. So Pika is going to be hoping that he can survive the next couple of minutes, and then he'll be able to produce a decent number of infantry with those barracks. Both players quite low on cash. Not totally out of cash, but low regardless. 1 Vindicator goes down. Nice staggering of those Vindicators. It means only one of them does go down, and the multi-gunner turret does survive as well. Pika seems to be having trouble with this playstyle. So many players in the past have had trouble with YuiYui's playstyle. I don't know if it's micro or macro. I don't even know what to call his playstyle, but it's just chaos. It involves a little bit of micro, a little bit of macro, and a lot of decision-making, but it's always just make the game a little bit crazier, make the game a little bit more aggressive, try to throw your opponent off that much more. Once again, the Vindicator leads in. 1 Vindicator goes down, but there's so many Vindicators just circling around, and actually they kind of split in a weird way, and 2 Vindicators end up going down. 3 Vindicators go down. That's good for Pika. It's not the win that he's looking for, but at least does disrupt YuiYui's air forces for the next minute or so of this game, and the Vindicator returns home over top of those IFVs, so that is going to be all 4 Vindicators down. 4,800 credits down the drain, and that is a great opening move there. A great kill by Pika. Opening move. It's 5 minutes into the game. Not quite opening move, but he gets those Vindicators, and that was a huge cost investment for YuiYui. Those Vindicators were supposed to be active for the next 4 or 5 minutes of the game, picking apart the front line of Pika, and now that damage is just certainly not there. That would have been 6 multi-gunner turrets for the same cost of just the Vindicators, not even counting the airfield as well. YuiYui could have had 6 multi-gunner turrets, and now his main base is blown wide open, and we can see some of the weakness of the YuiYui playstyle. Sometimes the chaos gets away from him, and in this case, he's got a refinery, but he soon won't have a harvester. Bye-bye, as Pika is going to be running away with game number 3. YuiYui evens the score up 1-1, but Pika says not for long and takes another point. Pika is not going down without a fight, and now YuiYui is up against match point. He needs to find something to keep this series alive and take us to game number 5 from game number 4, which is on Battle Base Beta, the next battleground, and where, of course, the red allied player is hoping that it all ends. I've never had the displeasure of playing YuiYui, and I've never had the misfortune of meeting him on the battleground, but I can imagine it is a nerve-wracking experience. Even when you win, you probably feel like you're losing the entire time. And this guy seems to have nerves of steel. This is Pika, up 2-1 in this best of 5, and the King of Chaos. Let's see if he can start a new reign of terror as the Cyan. This is YuiYui. It didn't really work in game 1, but it worked in game 2, and it didn't really work in game 3, but maybe it'll work here in game number 4. Perhaps a pattern is emerging here for YuiYui, and he'll be able to take us to an ace match, which would be fantastic to see an ace match in the quarterfinals here of the Red Alert 3 Masters. And it looks like Pika is going to get the complete scout on YuiYui's base. That dog comes in, and we'll get a pretty good sight, pretty good vision on everything, pretty good eyes on everything. Pika and YuiYui are going to be fighting over the middle of the map, and that's why their bank accounts are so low, despite the fact that they only have barracks and refineries out on the map, which shouldn't drink 10k. But as soon as you add on like 10, 15, Peacekeepers into that mix, you're like, oh, that's where all of my money went. That's why I'm broke, is because I just spent 2 or 3 grand on Peacekeepers alone just to hold the middle of the map for the first couple of minutes of the game. And sometimes it ends up paying off, and then sometimes it just kind of slows down the beginning of the game here for Battle-Based Beta. YuiYui built an engineer, but he hasn't turned his engineer towards the barrack, or towards the oil derrick just yet. So for now, that engineer is just auto-walking his way to the middle of the map, which would be a terrible, terrible mistake. He notices, okay, just in time, and Pika, who has had his oil derrick for a little bit longer, is going to be just looking a little bit more crisp on those timings and that unit control. 3 Peacekeepers down, and it looks like Pika is going to make safe the high ground. He's already got a couple of these buildings, and YuiYui is going to have to run for the hills, hide in the corner, and then hope that he can hold on to that building for a little while. YuiYui has placed his MCV not as far forward as you can, but that's almost as far forward as you can still have build radius back there. You could maybe get a couple of more squares of build radius out of that. And Pika is going to make this as difficult to break as he can. And unfortunately, that Peacekeeper did not go into shield mode to continue to trade out with this building. But YuiYui will secure the middle of the map. 3rd refinery up and running for both players. Oil derrick under control for both players. And Pika sends a dog back in to scout the main base. He's going to keep an eye on exactly what is going on, which is a nice touch for Pika. And scouting is just not something that's very high on YuiYui's list of things to do. Cause chaos, right up there at the top. Build multi-gunner turrets, right up there at the top. Scout your opponent. Why would it matter? The front line is the only thing that matters to YuiYui. The smallest area of map in between the 2 bases is what matters most. Pika has the advantage here with the first multi-gunner turret being deployed. Of course, the cryo shot can quickly even that up. If you fire off a cryo shot as you're placing down your own multi-gunner turret, you can very easily kind of swing things back into your favor. Oil derrick does go down from the high ground, so YuiYui will now have the oil derrick advantage against Pika. But this is a lot of damage on the MCV, and it's going to be low power mode as well. YuiYui has made a critical mistake here. It's double multi-gunner turret on the front line, and YuiYui is going to be pushed back. His multi-gunner turret gets broken. His MCV doesn't have an engineer right here, which means it can potentially take more damage, and Pika might be smelling blood in the water. He might be realizing that this is a mistake he can exploit. Laser lock lands on that MCV once again. It's going to be a triple barracks on the front line. YuiYui is going to be spending every one of his dollars trying to keep this middle of the map, but this foothold gets weaker every moment that goes on. YuiYui gets a little bit weaker, and Pika gets a little bit stronger. Okay, YuiYui has redeployed that MCV, and Pika has not advanced any further forward. So actually, they could be in a bit of a stalemate here, and YuiYui could recover from this position. It is a bit of an awkward one, but he does have a very powerful Peacekeeper armory if he can keep it alive and get it in range of his opponent. He's getting picked off a little bit here, and of course, YuiYui wants to avoid being drawn into that multi-gunner turret fire. Pika is just trying to bleed YuiYui dry. Here's the cryo shot that we mentioned earlier. There's the freeze. It does miss that multi-gunner turret, but it does give the advantage for a moment to Pika. Multi-gunner turrets getting eliminated on both sides resets the count for both players, and it looks like Pika did go for a slightly safer position there on that multi-gunner turret. He doesn't go as far forward as he can. Pika has not been willing to spend the 500 credits to get an engineer to repair up his MCV. Meanwhile, he has gotten a war factory right here on the front lines. If he can get out, I don't even know that he could risk going Guardian tanks with Pika's front line right there, ready and waiting to snatch him up. But he's going to go Guardian tanks. He goes tier 2, or I guess he could be going Spy. But he goes tier 2, and I assume it's going to be Guardian tanks. I assume it's going to be for the Crush. We'll see how they do against all of this infantry firepower. Multi-gunner turrets are here. Get a couple of shots off against that front line of YuiYui. At the same time, Ooh, Vindicator's going for the power plant. I love the backstab move here by Pika. 300, 304 Pika, but it's 250, 250 for YuiYui, so they're both on the brink of being in low power mode, and look at that. That MCV packs up just as the power plant gets deployed. Still that MCV low on health, and once again, YuiYui is in that low power mode. He must have built something else, and at the same time, he's forced to sell off his barracks, so he's back in business. Pika moving closer, ever closer to the front line of YuiYui. Multi-gunner turret is here. YuiYui here in the quarterfinals on his last life. He's down 1-2, and he's hoping that he can somehow turn this series around, but Pika is no slouch. Pika will not go down without a fight, and Pika is showing what he is made of. Turret versus turret, shot versus shot. There's the sell-off. And that was a full health turret, so the cashback will not be the same for YuiYui if he's forced to sell off that half health multi-gunner turret. And that is some lovely denied mining time. I love that move there by Pika. Draws out that harvester, and will be forcing YuiYui to lose some mining time. And oh man, the jab on the low ground. This is such perfect execution by Pika. Good decision after good decision, and now the multi-gunner turret will get frozen. It will get knocked down, and YuiYui doesn't even sell it off. He is pretty much out of options and out of steam. He may even be losing this refinery back at home. Pika has snuck units in all over the map. He even managed to sneak out a cryocopter and gets the shrink on that Riptide so the Peacekeepers can eliminate it. Pika playing this last game out brilliantly, and it'll send him into the semifinals, and Pika will guarantee a $50 payout as well for himself. Congratulations to Pika stepping into the semifinals of the Red Alert 3 Masters Tournament. And that takes us to the other side of the bracket. Game 1 kicking off on Infinity Isle with this AVA. This is the red. This is DutchArmy. His opponent on the left side playing blue, making it thus far, but will they go any further? This is Vitamin, who I did try to look up, and I have no idea who this guy is. He doesn't Shatterbrick to anyone, so this may be a new face, a player that I am unfamiliar with, but he is going to be going up against DutchArmy, who is a very solid allied player, and we'll see if he's able to do anything with his fast airfield here. The dog is blocking the second refinery location, so DutchArmy's dog will need to be taken care of before Vitamin can get his second ref up and running. This could go poorly. Oh my gosh, that almost led to an engineer death. Vindicator will be able to save it. No, that was an Apollo! And Vitamin loses an engineer. This is a phenomenal start here for DutchArmy. He gets his own oil derrick. He locks down the engineer of his opponent. He does not continue to block that ore refinery there. So Vitamin does manage to get the win in that sense. But down the engineer and down a dog as well. And actually, that's going to be two dogs. This attack dog for DutchArmy doing quite a bit more than an attack dog typically does, and AVA can be such a chaotic match with both players having the option to turn the game into a turret-pushing hellscape at any moment. We might actually... Okay, no, he deploys. I thought for a moment we were about to see the start of that. Like, well, I lost my engineer, but I've got two refineries in an airfield, so let's just go for it and see what happens. Instead, Vitamin going to be losing a couple of units here on the front line. Peacekeepers in better numbers here for DutchArmy. Walls do get canceled. I thought we were going to be seeing a little bit of a wall swag delay tactics going on here. DutchArmy, on the other hand, takes the third refinery at the water and does deploy his airfield in the middle of his base as well. So a little bit slower on the infantry, or on the unit production, but his economy is super solid, being 3 refineries and an oil derrick. And of course, he got those early wins with the infantry, which has forced even more of delays out of his opponent. Vitamin would have loved to have a third refinery up and running at this point, but it just is not meant to be. Apollo goes down, and I think that was Vitamin's Apollo. Otherwise, I don't know where his Apollo actually is out on the map, and this might be a bit of a mismatch here in the quarterfinals. Vitamin might be having a bad first game, but this is not looking to get better the longer this first match goes on. No cryocopters yet, so things still could go from bad to worse, but cryocopters really wouldn't make this game that much worse for Vitamin. It would just make it maybe a little bit faster. Vindicator will be going down, so trade a Vindicator for a Peacekeeper. Never a trade that anyone wants to make. And the micro is pretty good, but it's just not perfect here for DutchArmy, so he does lose a Peacekeeper there to the crush of that MCV. But other than that, he's doing a really good job of keeping his units on the move. And of course, with these kind of numbers, you don't actually have to micro each individual Peacekeeper. You can, of course, group them together and just keep two groups of Peacekeepers always moving, always shooting. And, I mean, we should always keep in mind that the game is never over till it's over, but of course, this game has felt like it's over for the last couple of minutes here, and it's only 4.5 minutes long thus far. DutchArmy will be able to clean up this game number 1, and if he doesn't, it'll be the most significant comeback, or perhaps the most significant throw we have seen in a long, long time in Red Alert 3. And game 1 will be going to DutchArmy, but never give up hope. If you take your multivitamin every day, well, sometimes nothing happens. And let's see what happens in game number 2. Is it the switch up, or is it more of the same? And here on Industrial Strength, it's going to be starting out with more of the same, because it is once again an allied mirror. And of course, down 0-1. This is Vitamin, but that means that up 0-1-0 on the other side. This is DutchArmy. And of course, AVA, it worked out extremely well in DutchArmy's favor in game number 1. But we can always maintain hope. Maybe things will be different here in game number 2. Vitamin could really supercharge his army and make some kind of change to his strategy. But I think this just might be a case of one player is a little bit better than the other. Dogs coming out here. It is going to be a trade there of the dogs on the high ground. Vitamin doesn't have his oil derrick just yet, and it's going to be a little bit of a slow uptake on that oil derrick. Second refinery coming in. No, it is going to be another airfield first. Okay, so it's not the fastest airfield in the world, but it is a pretty darn quick airfield nonetheless. After one refinery, go for that airfield, and DutchArmy, on the other hand, has gone double refinery before any kind of unit production, and the oil derrick still is not captured by Vitamin. Quarterfinals, best of 5, so you do have a couple of games to give, but, you know, it's not a lot. It's not that long of a series. It gives you one more chance than a best of 3, realistically, but you still gotta come up with something. And Vitamin, he's got his chance to represent himself. He's got his chance to show people what he's made of, to claim a piece of that $425 prize pool. By the way, big thanks to Rage of Heat, aka Inspector Rage, for running this tournament, and a big thanks to MediaStorm, one of the patrons of the channel, for sponsoring this event, putting up the full $425 prize pool. That's $200 to first place, $100 to second place, and then third and fourth place do split $50 and a random $25 prize as well. So kind of a neat little prize pool there. Top 4 all get payouts, which means the winner of this series gets a guaranteed $50. Even if they totally bomb out of the rest of the tournament and don't win a single game in the semifinals, they will still be able to claim that $50 prize from their performance of getting to the top 4. But after that, the money starts doubling with every position that you go up. So if you can make it into the finals, you're guaranteed $100. And then, of course, the big winner does get $200. And always nice to have a little bit of a prize pool Of course, this is not some kind of life-changing, multi-million-dollar kind of event, but it is nice to have a couple of dollars here or there supporting the Red Alert 3 community even more than a decade after the game has come out. A couple of Peacekeepers going to be getting cleaned up here. Kind of nice bomb splitting there. There was at least bomb splitting, so the micro does exist within Vitamin. He is not a total scrub. He is not a total noob. We'll see if he's able to do anything more. Unfortunately, losing your Vindicators on the deck never feels good, and this Vindicator is so low on health that the Peacekeepers are able to clean it up in one more pass. Big Peacekeeper push going to be coming in here for Vitamin. He is not going to be able to quickly clean up these Peacekeepers, but, well, he's going to be forced to sell off his airfield, and things go from bad to worse. You lose 2 Vindicators, and you do get a couple of Peacekeepers as compensation, but you're forced to sell off your airfield, and you almost lose a power plant as well. Once again, things could be worse, but they're pretty darn bad here for Vitamin. Naval Yard out on the water. He's taken the southern double expansion, and this is going to be 4 refineries soon under the control of Vitamin, and he will get his first ref up and running right there. So Dutch Army may be able to take the land, but Vitamin will have an extra shot of power, and he gets the kill on Dutch Army's engineer moments before that engineer actually captures that oil derrick. And at this point, Dutch Army may just want to go ahead and clean up that oil derrick. He wasn't able to take it. It's already cost him $500, and he may as well kill it off to deny his opponent from getting any more income. Third refinery a bit quicker for Dutch Army than it was for Vitamin. Decent number of Peacekeepers, decent number of jabs, and this is enough Peacekeepers and jabs that they could sweep this entire base and put Vitamin back on to 2 refineries only, although maybe 2 refineries is a bit presumptive. Right now, he only has the 1 refinery out on the water, and a Riptide does go down courtesy of that multi-gunner turret there on the water. And, well, Dutch Army says it is not going to be a fight only on land as he deploys his own naval yard. And it will, for the current moment, be 3 refineries versus 4. Finally, Vitamin does get that up and running, but as I said, the land may not be long for this world. And then quite suddenly, Vitamin would be at an economic disadvantage, the same disadvantage he's been at for the entirety of this game. Down 5,000 credits in total resources gathered so far in only a 5-minute game. And, well, now 4 refineries, but not 4 working refineries, as 1 harvester gets turned into a command hub, and, well, the other harvester isn't going to be much use for very much longer either. Triple Riptide versus 1. Meanwhile, the main base is being assaulted. Dutch Army is here to finish off that power plant that he did start to kill so long ago. Could go for the crush with the harvesters. Probably wouldn't get anything done, and the GG comes out. Vitamin has dropped 2 games in a row, which means he's only got 1 shot left to take down Dutch Army, and it's going to have to be the reverse sweep. It's going to have to be 3 games in a row, and that just doesn't seem likely. But we will keep hope alive here on Absolute Zero in the north. You know who it is. It's Dutch Army. And deciding to stick with allies to stay with this matchup, this is Vitamin. He's going to stick with what he knows. He's going to stick with his strongest faction, apparently, and that is going to be allies. Now, I did get to choose the map pool for this event. I did include pretty much all of the original maps that you are used to seeing, but I also deliberately chose enough custom community maps or Uprising port-over maps that we will get to see them sprinkled in throughout the tournament. And in this case, we are going to be seeing them here in game number 3, and maybe even a little bit further in this series. The airfield comes out first, and the Apollo is on deck. But I just have to wonder if this is really the strongest move for Vitamin. He goes Apollo, and then he goes Vindicator right after. I mean, I'm assuming it's Vindicator. He shouldn't go double Apollo. No, he went Tier 2! I didn't even notice, but he went Tier 2, and he's going Cryo Rush. That's why he doesn't have any cash. Dutch Army floating around 1,600. Vitamin down under 100. He is zeroed out, and he's only harvested 1,000 credits in total. Apollo takes a lot of damage, but the cryocopter reveal has now happened. DutchArmy has some pressure to deal with, and he needs to make this happen. First Apollo does go down. Vitamin is in trouble here as he now has 2 Apollos to contend with. And okay, a cryocopter is good, but it's not much good without anything to actually shoot the units. And it looks like Game 3, maybe the shortest of them all. Back down to 0 goes Vitamin's bank account, and this is disaster. The attempt at the all-in, but fortunately, DutchArmy didn't actually pack along any jabs, so he can't break down the walls. And that means this game will technically go on for a little bit longer. This Vindicator will be able to break down a couple of these walls, and soon it'll be 0 refineries working and up to date for Vitamin. This is a little bit sad to go out this way, but I do admire the attempt. I'm always happy to see players mix it up and try something different, especially when you're more of a macro player, if that's what people are expecting. And then out of left field, you just hit them with like a really sharp, nice timing attack, something really aggressive that they just aren't expecting. In this case, it didn't quite work out. DutchArmy is not slouching behind this. He does take a 3rd refinery. He sets himself up in the middle of the map. Takes a 4th refinery even because he has got the time of day to do whatever he wants. Jabs and Peacekeepers are going to be looking to put a little bit more hurt on Vitamin. And Vitamin is going to be sticking it out. He's got 1 refinery. He's got 1 airfield. And if he could ever get that, leave that MCV unpacked for long enough, he would actually have Tier 2 tech, which on paper seems like a powerful combination, but in reality, in this game, it just doesn't matter. Vindicators coming in, Apollos as well, all from DutchArmy. Peacekeepers are going to jump inside of those walls, forcing the MCV to either crush his own walls or just leave those Peacekeepers as they are. Jabs go for the dodge, and nice control there by DutchArmy. Hasn't lost a single one just yet. Fires as many shots as he can, and then gets to safety. And the GG is going to be coming out. Vitamin will be taking the 0-3 loss. A bit unfortunate here, but that is how it goes sometimes. Big thanks to Vitamin for stepping up to this event, for joining the tournament, and for fighting it out, even though he isn't going to be able to advance any further, and his run will end in the quarterfinals. And that will take us back to Infinity Isle once again for our starting map of a best of 5. And it will not be an AVA this time, not even a mirror, because on the left side, playing the Orange Empire, this is Deezy. And on the right side, playing the Blue Allies, this, and going for airfield first, this is DDF. Deezy is a player that I am not familiar with, but DDF is a player that I am very familiar with, and I've recently become more familiar with his allies' play, partially because I accidentally cast a game where I thought DDF was Dimon. It was a game played on the Chinese server, and someone sent in a replay, and I think I mislabeled it, or they sent in, it was named wrong, because sometimes I will rename replays when people send them in. And apparently, I named the replay, or they named the replay, Dimon versus Harlan. And it was actually DDF. So I spent an entire game calling DDF Dimon, and we all thought that we had seen the end of times. We thought that Dimon was playing allies, but he wasn't. It was DDF, and as it turns out, DDF is pretty darn good at allies. The guy is good at Soviets, he is good at Empire, and he is good at allies. Although, maybe Soviets would be his strongest and Allies his second strongest. Although, if this trend keeps going, maybe Allies actually are DDF's strongest faction, and we have been seeing him play with his left hand, so to speak, this entire time. This is a triple dojo through the front door. This is a quad dojo through the front door, which is not a build I'm familiar with. And I am curious to see how this goes. This isn't a cryocopter rush. This was an airfield first into triple Vindicators. So it is definitely a different play than just Is he trying to break down the wall? He's trying to break down the wall. And it didn't work! No! DDF's wall stays intact. And unfortunately, how is he able to shoot this refinery? There must be a little bit of a bug or a glitch because their walls were under construction that still let him shoot through the wall. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but in any case, yeah, that wall segment was causing a bit of a problem there for DDF. DDF now has brought his harvester offline, and the splits are good enough to keep the Imperial Warriors alive for now. DDF is going to be picking up some free repairs on that harvester. And Deezy, he's got himself 2 refineries, and we'll see about his follow-up plan. Currently, he doesn't have much of a follow-up plan, so we'll see what his mid to late game is because, okay, we have now seen the 4 or 5 dojos to your opponent's front line build, which is a new one. I have never seen this build in all of my years of watching competitive Red Alert 3. This is not a strat that I am familiar with, but the double airfield with the extra Apollos is something that I am familiar with. DDF going to be getting an extra shot in there with his extra Apollo as he heads off for repairs, and then he does a little fake out and he comes back and kills a Tengu. The wall segments do break down, which is really what Deezy needed a couple minutes ago. And, well, the Apollo is going to get triple teamed, but just kidding, because these Tengus are going down, so now it's just double team as those Tengus try and escape the Apollo death threat, and instead they get shot up by Vindicators as soon as they transform. Every single Tengu has gone down, and DDF was looking like he might have some action thrown his way that he can't handle, but just kidding, he can handle it just fine. Now, behind all of that, DDF could have lost even more and still been fine because he took that 3rd refinery so nice and quick. That was a very snappy timing on the 3rd refinery, despite all of the pressure he was under, despite all of the damage that was at his front door. He took the 3rd base, he got the 2nd airfield, and that is going to be the GG as Deezy hands over game number 1 with a very bizarre and very aggressive Ultra Dojo rush right down the front door. And in sub 5 minutes, we have got a point on the board for DDF. And let's hope for the sake of the Empire player that it's not a repeat, because we do have a repeat of the map choices. Infinity Isle into Industrial Strength. This is Deezy. Orange down there playing Empire. Nothing has changed because playing blue and going airfield first, lickety split as fast as you can, is DDF. He's got a power plant, he's got an airfield, and that is the only thing an allied player needs to win the game. This is going to result in double dojo takes of the oil derricks. There is a chance that the engineers do get sniped, but it is going to be Apollo first, and the Apollo will get some pretty good scouting. So as long as the Vindicator doesn't camp out on the perfect, correct oil derrick, then both oil derricks will be grabbed. There just might be a little bit of a delay before the engineers can actually hop out over there and get those oil derricks. First oil derrick has been captured, and second oil derrick, yep, will be captured, but it'll just be maybe momentarily delayed. We'll see if DDF's second Vindicator gets over here in time. And it does. Oh, he misses the bomb drops, though. Kind of impossible to get that one right. And that Vindicator, if he had been able to see in the dark, if he had known, actually, if the Apollo had been over there scouting, he might have been able to get that kill on the engineer right as it popped out. He could have already given the attack order, but it's not meant to be, and it looks like the oil derricks are just going to get targeted down, get blasted away, and a couple of tank busters are being mixed in. Interesting, interesting. Glad to see some mix-up of the infantry forces. It's not 5 dojos, and then you hope that the honorable discharge breaks down the front door. Instead, it is going to be a couple of tank busters mixed in here. 2 oil derricks are nice, but unfortunately for Deezy, he may only have 0 oil derricks before long. Is this dojo going to deploy? He is going to deploy it, so it's not just to try and break down the front door, but it looks like the tank busters were either a little bit slow to come to the party or they just decided to stay home. They are partying by themselves in this building, and these 4 tank busters have lost a lot of time in terms of being able to actually break down this wall. And I said we weren't going to see the 5 dojo break down the front door build, but apparently we are going to see it again. It just does have a little bit of a mix-up here with these tank busters. Nice bomb splitting there by DDF. 3 of the tank busters get blasted to bits and eliminated. The 4th tank buster will go down, and then 1-2 more tank busters maybe popped out. Nope, just the 1 before the barracks did go down. 3 levels of walls will not be defeated by meager tank buster shots. Instead, it's going to be attack on the north side as these Vindicators have to refuel quickly, drop a couple of more bombs, and then save their home base, which they will do pretty perfectly there by DDF. Once again, DDF still a little bit low on the total resources gathered, but it kind of doesn't matter when your opponent has sold their MCV like this and you are sitting pretty holed up nice and tight with a triple airfield. Neither player is doing what we have seen before. Neither player is doing what we expect. And on top of that, this has been spotted. Where are the Apollos? DDF will engage immediately. Deezy going to be losing a power plant, and that will almost send him into low power mode. He is slightly overdrawn there, 175 out of 100. And that's going to be a little bit unfortunate for him for the rest of this game. He has to make a decision as to whether or not he just has slow production or if he wants to sell off one of his refineries, which would be catastrophic. Either way you slice it. If there were a couple of dojos still alive, then there would be an opportunity to at least produce infantry. And indeed, there is a dojo still alive. So the pressure is going to be keeping up, and the front has been broken. DDF has more threats that he has to worry about, and it's going to come down to the micro as far as how much these Imperial Warriors can get done. They are getting sniped one by one. Vindicators are very good at killing Empire infantry. They've done a good job of dodging the MCV where they can, but the damage just is not concentrated enough to do anything at all. And, well, what little hope there was for Deezy seems to be evaporating ever quicker. He got a power plant. All right, he got a power plant. So they're both overdrawn on power, 250 versus 175. It'll take DDF a little longer to get out of there, but, you know, DDF is the one who still has an MCV after all of that. And Deezy, I appreciate the attempt. 2 aggressive builds, both of them perhaps not well guided, and wow, what an amazing unit kill to death ratio. That happens sometimes, and that'll do it for game number 2. It's looking good for DDF. It's not looking good for Deezy. Let's see if he's able to turn it around. On the fun and happy map, Cabana Republic. This might be a very quick quarterfinals video. Kicking it off on the left side of Cabana Republic as the Purple Allies. This is DDF. Is he going to go for a super fast airfield? He is indeed, because it's worked so well against the Orange Empire on the right side. This is Deezy. Oh, Deezy. We'll see if he's able to pull a win out of somewhere. That's triple dojo. MCV on the move. How many dojos can this guy build? All right, I like the insurance policy. A generator into the corner of the map, far, far away from prying allied eyes. He hides a power plant. Burst drone gets shut down, and first Vindicator makes its bombing run. Second refinery is up and running. DDF, he's looking good. Pretty much 3 games in a row he has opened the same way, and he's up 2-0 in the map score, so things are looking good for him going into game number 3. Oil Derrick does get grabbed. Second Oil Derrick will get nabbed as well. Oh no, the engineer went the wrong way. Okay, didn't matter. Whew. Almost got sniped, but he got his cash back. At the very least, he's going to be making a little bit of a profit. Not much, but a little bit of a profit. Barracks is here. Walls are already up. This hasn't worked the previous 2 games, but maybe somehow here in the 3rd game there will be a secret strategy that we've never seen that will somehow make this work. I don't know what it would be. Maybe it would be start with an extra $5,000 so that you can pump out more tank busters, but the Vindicators, when you can bomb split, this kind of stuff just doesn't work. This might work against me because my bomb split micro is bad. But against someone who can actually split bombs efficiently, this just doesn't work. Vindicators are too good at killing Empire infantry. And I mean, there you don't even have to bomb split. There's only one target. What are you going to split for? Mecha Bay is up. MCV is not sold off, which I am liking that. I don't like the big dojo push and all of the infantry just thrown away at the front door of the allied player. I don't like that. But I do like the fact that he's not selling his MCV. He seems to be taking a 3rd refinery. Cabana Republic, it's a big old map. And the Empire player can take refineries faster than the allied. But in this case, DDF already has his 3rd up and running. He is harvesting up that gold faster than anyone would have thought. And Deezy, he's finally heading across the map with his first 5 Tengus. He's going to be able to jump on an Apollo. Might even be able to find a couple of Apollos here. We'll see if the micro is going to be good enough. DDF commits to the attack, and DDF does not return all the way home, but he will be able to get so many Tengus. 4 out of the 5 go down. The other 2 do transform, and that 6th one that showed up at the last second, he also transformed and died. 6 Tengus gone, and the efficiency rating is perfect for DDF. If it's not perfect, it is... Oh, no, he did lose an Apollo. Oopsie, oopsie. He lost an Apollo, and that is it, because when you don't build a barracks at the beginning of the game, you don't build any infantry, you don't really lose anything right at the beginning. And other than that one Apollo, DDF is looking perfect. He is looking flawless. However, he does now scout up in the north with his Apollo. There is a 3rd refinery. There are even extra power plants just to keep the lights on for the rest of the game. And I don't think DDF has actually spotted that power plant in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. So we'll have to keep that in mind. If somehow Deezy manages to sneak out a huge army and just doesn't have many buildings left, maybe that power plant will come and be a factor in this game. But as it currently stands, one power plant, it can't really save you from anything. So there isn't much of an advantage to having the power plant way down there in the corner. Vindicators moving around the map, and it is going to be an all-out assault maybe in the top right-hand corner. We'll see. Sells off the power plant there, but I'm not sure how much that really gains you. Tier 2 is up. Barracks does get deployed. Okay, so DDF, he knows how to build a barracks. We now have confirmed this. He can build a barracks. And actually, in this case, he has not killed off those 2 oil derricks. So I'm not sure why, but DDF just hasn't cleaned up the oil derricks, and instead, he is focusing on more important targets. He doesn't want to go for that soft belly of the oil derricks. And wow, we're up to tier 2. Okay, Deezy showing us a real game here. And I am a little surprised we haven't seen a cryocopter out here on the front line. It is going to be Apollos and assault destroyers. And I'm just genuinely surprised there aren't many cryocopters, because DDF knows how to play with cryocopters. He can get at cryocopters and shrink with the best of them, freeze with the best of them, cause havoc for the Empire player with the best of them. But instead, he's going those assault destroyers. And of course, assault destroyers, they shoot straight across. So unlike these chopper VXs, which will have to transform and contend with the Apollos, the assault destroyer can just blast away at all of the targets that are on the ground. These Apollos getting very close to spotting that power plant. Apollos have incredible vision. One of the reasons why allied players love scouting with Apollos is they are fast and they do reveal such a large chunk of the map. And this power plant does get spotted out. Unfortunately, it looks like Deezy is going to be going into low power mode. oh well, as those assault destroyers clean up that power plant. He's going to be forced to rebuild it. Mecha Bay is deployed, so is a barracks for our Empire player. And DDF double turrets his high ground 4th refinery. He is well set up there on the high ground with a double turret to keep it safe. Naval Yard on the low ground. Deezy spreading himself out. He's got 3 refineries. He's got an oil derrick as well. If he could take those 2 oil derricks, or those 2 refineries in the north, he would be pretty well set up in this match. DDF does still have the overall tech advantage. I guess not so much since he hasn't actually deployed his airfield near his MCV, but he can build a war factory. He can build an airfield within the range of that MCV, and then he would have a full lineup of production facilities all at Tier 2, and he would be very ready to transition into Tier 3 with this 4 refinery economy he has rolling. DDF may be Dutch Army's opponent in the semifinals, and if that is the matchup that we are seeing for a best of 7, then I am very excited. I'm glad that we get best of 7s in the semifinals, and I'm excited if it is going to be DDF versus Dutch Army. Although, from this perspective, if Deezy somehow managed to win this series, I would then be very excited to see Deezy versus Dutch Army, which would then probably be a phenomenal match. It is going to be a target of the airfield, and he's going to be using that honorable discharge to make sure that he gets the kill. It just doesn't matter because everything goes down anyways. And it's going to be a couple of Tengus that try and transform to escape for Deezy. Gets an airfield, but loses his entire army. And that is where that cash that he has gathered, that 36,000 credits that he has gathered, just can disappear so quickly. And in this case, DDF still has most of his infrastructure. Didn't lose harvesters, didn't lose much at all. Just that one airfield, and he's already up to Tier 3. He's ready to rebuild that airfield if he so chooses. And it is going to be a target of the power plant by these Tengus, and DDF is curiously actually going to use a cryoblast, a cryo shot to freeze down a couple of those Tengus, which seems a little bit like overkill for the Tengus, but hey, I guess it eliminates those 3, and then the other 3 will face a slightly slower death at the hand of the Riptide Apollo and Assault Destroyers that are there. Tank Busters and Imperial Warriors joining forces to create a bit of a parade push, and they are going to be able to take down this Assault Destroyer, not before a couple of units do go down, and the main base of DDF is broken open. Deezy technically still has his main base, so in that sense, he is actually holding his own against DDF, who is dominating in every other sense of this game. And DDF, maybe he played a little bit more too close. Maybe he played a little bit too much towards the future, going for that faster Tier 3 and rebuilding those production facilities out there on the water. Maybe he needed to focus on just ending the game. He's opened up an opportunity, and it is still going to be an extremely long, difficult fight for Deezy to make it out of this game. But, you know, killing the main base, that's step number 1. He needs to somehow defeat this entire cluster of buildings here that DDF has been building up and dislodge the middle of the map. But hey, killing the main base of DDF, that is step 1 in this journey. And now step 1 is about to become step 0 as 100,000 peacekeepers descend upon these Imperial Warriors and blast them to bits. Tank Busters will not be safe, and these power plants will go down as well. Deezy better have a good backup plan for his 1-2 punch. I hope it's not just going to be throwing a couple of Yari mini-subs out at this base, because killing off one Riptide here or there, killing off a Harvester here or there is nice, but that is not a long-term strategy. That is not a game-winning move. And that observation post right next to where the MCV used to be gives me a moment of pause and makes me think that Deezy maybe already sold off his MCV and that the end is nigh for him. Looks like Deezy is going to be able to clean up a couple of these peacekeepers. And what exactly is... He's going to go for the power plant anyways. All right, DDF. He just needs a couple of shots here to kill off that power plant, and then he can go back into shield mode if he wants. No, okay. There's nothing left to go into shield mode. So now, then an aircraft carrier is leaving port and breaking into the front door of Deezy. And I think this will be the final chapter of this game. I appreciate the effort from Deezy. He really tried, and he got close to doing something there just by breaking down the main base of DDF. But ultimately, he needed a little bit more than just one single move, one single attack to make something happen. This is a good number of Tengus, and if Tengus could kill buildings fast, then maybe there would be something there. But ultimately, one aircraft carrier is going to be able to kill off so much more base than all of these Tengus. Cryocopters coming in over. Apollos are ready and waiting. This is 5 Apollos in the sky, 3 cryocopters on the ground, plus a Vindicator. So this is going to be a lot of dead Tengus quite quickly, as even a couple of Riptides show up just to seal the deal. Harvester does go down. 2 Harvesters get eliminated, actually, and a command hub. But when you're trading at that kind of firepower, 8 or 9 Tengus out for 2 Harvesters and a command hub, there just isn't much left that you can do. GG gets called. Deezy has been defeated, and he falls out of the tournament with an 0-3, but certainly a much better showing here in game number 3. Almost on equal footing with DDF, but ultimately not. I don't know what that was from Deezy. That was such weird builds from Deezy. Every single game, if he had not opened with that weird 5 dojo try and run down the front door build, maybe he would have had a chance to make all 3 games competitive, but ultimately that just was not a close series, and DDF advances on to face DutchArmy in the semifinals. But that wraps up this quarterfinals video. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Semifinals and finals are coming soon. Huge thanks to Rage of Heat and Media Storm for this event. And this is Sybert signing out.